A ship flies overhead. It's the Empire. We should probably hide.
Galen Erso quickly gathers his wife and daughter. They had a plan for if the Empire ever found them. The time was now.
Galen goes out to meet the Imperial commander, Director Krennic.
Krennic tells him that the Empire needs his help to finish a superweapon.
One that Galen had already laid the groundwork for without realizing it.
We find out later that Galen has worked with Krennic before. But the reason they are hiding is because he wanted to get away from that life.
He saw how evil the Empire was and wanted no part of it.
Man, it really looks like Krennic has no leverage here.
Well, he doesn't really, until Galen's wife runs up.
Now, I don't specifically remember going over the plan, but I also don't think that was part of it.
No, it was not part of the plan. And as per usual, when you veer from the plan, someone ends up dead.
Yeah, she ends up pulling a gun on Krennic, and in the process, his escort of death troopers kills her.
She does end up shooting Krennic in the shoulder, but that means little to nothing.
And while Krennic has very little leverage still, Galen is taken by force and made to work on the Death Star.
Now what about his daughter?
You remember that character, Saw Gerrera from the Clone Wars and Rebels?
Yeah, what about him?
Well, he was a very good friend of Galen, and takes Jyn, Galen's daughter.
After that prologue, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, opens up with Jyn Erso in an Imperial prison.
That first scene was the last time Jyn has seen her dad, and for the past 15-ish years, he's been working on the Death Star.
Now this movie packs a lot into a little time, so keep up. Because next we are introduced to our second protagonist, Cassian Andor, a captain in Rebel intelligence.
We meet him as he meets a contact with some important information for him to take to the rebellion.
Apparently the Empire is making a super weapon of some kind.
And not only that, but there's an Imperial pilot that has defected with some vital info about the super weapon.
And he's gone to Saw Gerrera, a rebel extremist that the Rebel Alliance doesn't always get along with.
The important thing to note here is that yes, they are both rebels, but they don't always get along or go about things in the same way.
After Cassian gets the intel and takes care of any loose ends, we cut to the Imperial pilot that has an important message for Saw Gerrera.
But getting to Saw is not an easy task. He is at the mercy of Saw Gerrera's men, who aren't all that nice to him.
Back with Jyn, we see her being transferred when all of a sudden the transport stops unexpectedly.
Then, boom! Rebels storm in, taking out all the guards. There's only 2 of them.
The captain makes his way to Jyn to release her, and as soon as her cuffs are off, she starts attacking her rescuers and makes her way to the door.
Only to be met by the metal robotic arm of K2SO, the funny bone of this movie.
Jyn is then taken back to the rebel base on Yavin 4, where she is then told that they need her help to get a meeting with Saw Gerrera.
Why, you might ask? Well, it's because of that pilot we were talking about earlier, whose name is Brody for future reference. The Rebel Alliance wants the information he has, and they want to find Galen Erso.
Well, probably to rescue him, because, he's just a scientist that was forced into working for the Empire, right?
No, they want him dead. They want him dead.
Oh.
But that's just for Cassian to know. Now, with Jyn agreeing to help the rebels, Cassian, Jyn, and K2SO make their way to Jedha.
Once they get there, they see just how overrun it is by the Empire. And they also figure out why.
See, the Empire has been mining kyber crystals from Jedha to power their new super weapon.
And Saw has been, let's just say, disrupting them a little bit.
So between that and the rogue pilot, that place is crawling with stormtroopers.
Now Cassian has a contact set up for them to meet, but before they can meet up, Saw's men attack a transport, and they get roped into a fight.
Even killing one of Saw's men.
Which doesn't really sit well with the rest of them. So after the fight, they capture the crew.
Jyn, Cassian, K2SO, Chirrut, and Baze.
Chirrut and Baze? I don't remember meeting them.
We met them in passing before the fight, and after Jyn and Cassian get themselves in a tight spot, they come to their rescue.
Ah, okay. Well, anyways, once they make it back to Saw's base, everyone except for Jyn is put into a cell, but she's taken to Saw.
They do some light catching up, but the important thing is that he shows her a holo video of her father, Galen Erso, telling them of the weakness he placed in the Death Star.
Something so small no one would notice, but it could be used to destroy the whole thing.
You know, it's actually kind of funny that we're talking about the Death Star because it's right outside.
Oh, that can't be good.
Oh, no, it's definitely not. They're planning on doing a test run with the laser, and Jedha City is the target. So, yeah.
Well, before we get to them blowing up the city, guess who the guys find in the cell right next to them?
It's Brody, that Imperial pilot.
The Imperial... Wait a minute, you were supposed to guess.
I've seen the movie, I just knew.
You're stealing all the fun in this.
Well, it is now that all hell breaks loose, with the laser beaming down right on Jedha City, causing a massive explosion, destroying Jedha City and consuming all the surrounding area.
But don't worry, because, while not everyone makes it out, mainly Saw Gerrera, our yet-to-be-named Rogue One squad gets out just in time.
They then head to Edu, where they will find Galen Erso.
Jyn plans on bringing him back to the Rebel base so he can tell them about this flaw in the Death Star. But Cassian has different intentions.
Krennic is also on his way there, because apparently there's some kind of a leak that is probably in his best interest if he has fixed.
So that's exactly what he does. He goes there, and he has all the scientists who worked on the Death Star killed. Well, all except for Galen.
Man, so close. I guess now Cassian's gonna have to do it.
He has a chance to, but he doesn't go through with it because the more he gets to know Jyn, the better man he becomes. Or something like that.
Well, whether he took the shot or not really wouldn't matter because there's a rebel airstrike coming in, and in the bombing, Galen Erso dies.
This really affects Jyn. She had been running away from the rebellion her whole life, not caring. But seeing her dad so dedicated to defeating the Empire with this fatal flaw in the Death Star made her want to finish what he started.
Which made it really frustrating back on Yavin 4 when she was unable to convince the Council that going to Scarif was a good idea. You know, that planet with all the Imperial data on it, including the Death Star plans that they need.
Well, it's okay because Rogue One to the rescue. Go ahead and roll those credits because Cassian, K2SO, Brody, Chirrut, Baze, and a few other rebel fighters come together to tell Jyn that they are ready to fight.
So against the Council's decision, they decide to steal a ship and infiltrate Scarif to steal the Death Star plans.
Getting in is no small task, but with their stolen Imperial ship and the clearance codes they got, they should get through just fine.
Once on the surface, the group breaks up. Cassian, Jyn, and K2SO go to find the plans. Chirrut and Baze take some men and try and cause a distraction.
Brody and a few men stay on the ship so they have a fast exit. But once the battle starts, there is very little chance of getting out.
As the battle starts outside, Jyn, Cassian, and K2SO make their way to the vault with all the files.
Once there, K2SO locks Cassian and Jyn inside, while he fends off stormtroopers who apparently don't want them there. Wonder why.
He fights bravely and valiantly, but ultimately K2SO perishes in the fight.
But it wasn't for nothing, because he gave Cassian and Jyn enough time to find the plans.
But they are not out of the woods yet. They still have no way of getting the plans out.
On the plus side, the Rebel Alliance has now decided that maybe Jyn was right in going after the Death Star plans. So, while risky, they decided it was their only hope.
So the plan is to use the communications tower to send the rebels the plans.
Brody and all the men at the ship come under attack, but before they're all done in, Brody is able to get a message to the Rebel Alliance.
Bring the shield down.
Now the message is out, and the rebels know exactly what to do. But for the transmitter to work, there's a switch on the ground that needs to be flipped. And right now, it's off.
It's right by Chirrut and the rest of his men, but they're pinned down with heavy enemy fire.
I'm one with the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force is with me.
With one last-ditch effort, Chirrut makes his way to the switch and turns it on, thus being the third hero to have fallen.
Followed closely by Baze, who goes out taking as many stormtroopers with him as he can, and he takes out a good many.
Back with Jyn and Cassian holds off Krennic and his men as they try and stop the two rebels, and in the process Cassian is shot and all but dead.
This gives Jin enough time to make her way to the transmitter.
Well, it couldn't be just that easy, because just as she's about to transmit the plans, none other than Director Krennic himself shows up, and all hope seems lost.
Well, this can't just be it. I mean, we've seen all the other movies. I know what happens. Even in a movie with so much death, the good guys still have to win.
Now with him out of the way, and the shield having been knocked out by the battle above, transmitting the plans is all but done.
And as our two heroes make their way down the tower, broken and bruised, the Death Star looms in the background.
You may fire when ready.
And we end this story here, with our final two heroes dying, having completed their mission. But
it's not all doom and gloom for the rebels, because they have the Death Star plans. They have a new hope. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know down below if you enjoyed this video. I think I might have messed up a little bit with the death of Chirrut and Baze, but I don't really think it affects the overall arcing story. For anyone who's watching this and has never seen Rogue One, just go watch the movie. It tells it obviously so much better than we do here. This is just a synopsis, a recap, summary of it all. So, hope you enjoyed. Have a great day.